Clutched with fear and feeling vulnerable and alone, crazy thoughts raced through my head. This man just raped me. What would stop him from killing me with that pearl-handled gun that he's so proud of? I was sure I was going to die.
How difficult was it for you to write this book?
It was difficult. A lot of tears, a lot of migraines, sleepless nights. Inspiration and ideas would come clearly at 3 o'clock in the morning or when I wasn't in front of the computer, out for a walk with the dog. And so a recorder became my best friend. And sleep was something I accepted wasn't important at this time. I was really spurred on, probably like most of the readers, to get to the end of it. So I did.
And why? Why did you decide that you wanted to write this book?
I had gone to a women's empowerment symposium, a gift on my 55th birthday in Maui, and it wasn't something I even thought about. It was a vision and an auditory message that I received upon waking of the second day of the convention. And the vision was this cover. So a person up against a brick wall, feeling helpless and ashamed and frightened. And the graffiti on the wall, where I was really becoming empowered for the events of my life, and the words, "because I didn't tell." That's really why life unraveled as it did. All because I didn't tell what happened as soon as it did.
One question a lot of people will ask, I think even anyone reading this book, but when we're looking at about issues with regards to domestic violence and abuse, we've been hearing a number of them, is why the victim or why the person didn't leave. Why you didn't leave. Why not after the first incident you didn't leave.
It's a mystery just as much as why did the first incident happen. I surrendered my power to the abuser by believing his words. But his violence that he poured over me had me believing those words. He could have killed me. He had a gun. When there's a gun present in domestic violence, there's the chance of death as a result of any violence is increased by 500%. This is a fact that I know from research, but what I was living was that intense fear. And not only for myself, for my unborn child, and then the children that I did have with this monster of a man, and that he threatened the lives of everyone I loved, especially my family. And I could not tell them of the events because that was the sure first step to death for all of us.
And you mentioned your daughters because they were abused as well. Thankfully, you were able to find this out early and stop it. But how has the process been also for them to repair, knowing what has happened, knowing what you went through, and now being able to move forward and have children of their own?
They are amazing. The journey has not been simple. I believe the confidence that I instilled in them at a young age, keeping their truth a secret for a long time, really didn't help them. But when is a good time to tell a young child what they had been through as an infant? I left purposely so that it would not be something any of us would remember. But the system made us send them back for a visit for proof. I live with that.
Proof of sexual abuse.
So I live with that. It wasn't even a decision I had to make. It was so that I could have sole custody of my children, which is what I really was fighting for. How are they now? They are stronger. They are wiser. Are we trouble-free? Absolutely not. There's so many influences from everyone around. But when I did tell them, at the ages of 16 and 14, it was actually quite a relief for my 16-year-old who had been subjected to the abuse more than once, because she had nightmares and odd feelings that she couldn't understand. And so she was not shocked and surprised at all when I told the truth of the circumstances.
After every chapter, after every incident, you write things I forgive myself for, and pearls of wisdom. Now, I know that that was something, obviously very important for you and as part of your healing, but is it also something for the reader especially if this is an individual who may have gone through the same thing, to be able to take that and understand that they can forgive themselves for things that may have happened in their life.
It certainly is. I now forgive myself for is a journey of healing that I really have practiced and repeated and practiced and repeated. And every time I would feel like I've gotten to a safe place in my life, life is good, then something may spur on another emotion that would come to the surface, and I'd have to revisit forgiving myself for, yes, mistakes that a reader who hasn't gone through this would say, wow, what a silly person. But when you're afraid for your life, we make decisions for other reasons, for your own life, for the life of people you love. And so I've forgiven myself, and I continue to. Again, the smug smile came across his face as he began to inform me of how we were going to spend the rest of our days together.